I'm going to tell you what my opinion is on vaccines, whether they cause autism, whether or not they're a scam, whether or not they're safe, whether you should be vaccinated or vaccinating your children or not, just based on some things that I think anyone could come to these same conclusions if they know how to analyze situations correctly. I'm John from BulldogMindset.com. On this channel, I teach you how to be a man. Today, I teach you how to become financially successful, how to build the physique that you want, how to get the girls, how to manage your relationships, and how to really understand what it is to be a man today. Let's talk about vaccines, right? This is a very heated topic, a very debated topic. You have the pro-vaccinators and the anti-vaxxers, and there's a lot of anti-vaxxers, okay? I know a lot of anti-vaxxers, a lot of anti-vaxxers are my friends. I do not hate anti-vaxxers, okay? You can probably guess that I'm for vaccination, but there's a reason why that I'm for it, and I want to talk about this. And I want to talk about, the idea of whether or not you should question what the doctors and medical community and science is telling us about vaccinations, because I believe you should question it. I'm definitely of the mindset that vaccines should be given and that they are worthwhile and that they do make sense, okay? And that they do not cause autism. But I'm also of the mindset that you should question everything, that you shouldn't just believe doctors, you shouldn't just believe what science says about something, right? In fact, a lot of the videos I've done on this channel, I've talked about some of the bullshit, kind of crazy shit that we just accept from an authority because we say that is an authority that has to know it, right? When we read news articles and they say, 500 million years ago, and I just have to laugh because no one knows what the fuck happened 500 million years ago. We can have an idea, we can make some estimates, we can guess. Heck, we don't even know what is actually inside the fucking earth. Like, we think it's a nickel core, but then there's debates. All of these statements that we make scientifically from an authoritative position, they immediately, eventually get challenged and they get disproved and our model improves. It's all about models, and I talk about this concept a lot because you need to understand that all scientific knowledge is not truth. It is simply a model, right? When the atom was first discovered, there was pictures like of the atom, of what it was, right? We didn't know that there was a neutron, an electron, and a proton, okay? In fact, we came up with names to name those things, right? And, we had this picture of an atom with an electron spinning around. Then we start to realize over time, as that model refined, as we realize how small the fucking electron is and how much space that there is actually in between the subatomic particles in that atom, that it's actually more like a cloud, like the electron is like a cloud around the atom, and that model improved over time. And as we start to understand quarks and looking at subatomic particles, that model has changed even more so than what we thought originally the atom was. At one period in time, everyone thought that, plate tectonic theory, right, the idea of shifting, moving plates in the earth was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous notion. The guy that came up with it, he was made fun of. He was laughed at. He was kicked out of scientific lectures and lecture halls because he was a ridiculous nut, okay? But then the evidence started shifting in that direction, and the model of the earth and how the continents formed shifted to this plate tectonic model, which we hold today, which explains volcanoes and earthquakes, and we can see where the fault lines are, and we understand this, and we think that this is pretty damn accurate. The reason why I'm saying this is because we should challenge science and we should challenge medicine. Remember when you're supposed to eat 6 meals a day because it increases your metabolism? Well, that's been proven wrong. That's been debunked. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Bullshit, it turned out, because you can fast and you're actually better fasting, right? We're now moving, more people are doing 1 meal a day like I've been doing for a long time. We need to question these things, and these things will change over time as we discover more and more things. But so I'm all for questioning vaccines, right? I don't think that you should just assume that vaccines are safe, okay, just because a doctor or the medical community or science says it does, right? We shouldn't shun people who are anti-vaxxers and say they're stupid. We don't need to apply blanket statements to people just because they believe something that we think is ridiculous, right? The same thing you could say, evolutionists versus creationists, right? If someone believes in the literal creation, if they don't believe in evolution, that doesn't mean that they're an idiot. Okay, there's a lot of really good arguments. I've studied them, and I fall somewhere in the middle, like in thinking that there's definitely some form of evolution, but evolutionary biology, the way that it's described in textbooks, doesn't make a lot of fucking sense. There's something else going on. I actually did an interview with Perry Marshall. He has a book called Evolution 2.0. I think we could link to the interview, but in his book he talks about some of the things that, in fact, it was kind of crazy, right? You may have heard recently, within probably like the last few years, of a concept that was resurrected. Epigenetics is a crazy kind of thing. Like, our DNA actually evolves over time, and it changes within the organism, and there's other things that influence the growth of an organism besides just the DNA. These are things that are being discovered now. So there's a lot of stuff, again, that it may seem fringe, like people have these strange ideas, but they have reasons for believing them, and it doesn't make them a total crackpot or an idiot. With that said, okay, if you look at all the research for vaccinations, and you look at the incidences of death from disease, okay, and if you look at, and you can go out there and you can check out both sides of the argument, and I encourage you to, if you're trying to make a decision about vaccination, it's very, very clear that yes, maybe vaccinations may cause some kind of side effects. Obviously, vaccinations do, but the incidence of the side effect versus the incidence of the disease killing a person it's much, much greater, that you would be killed from the disease, right? Everything points in that direction. Now, if you look at the autism connection, again, it is one study, one paper. The guy who initially talked about the link between vaccinations and autism, he disavowed what he said before. He said that it's not even true. It's ridiculous to base this, like, there's a real very ridiculous connection between vaccinations and autism. That part doesn't even make sense at all. People that keep on holding on to that and harping onto that, they just haven't done the research. It's very, very clear. I am in agreement that vaccinations do cause more side effects than what is commonly led to believe by the medical community. Obviously, there's an agenda that's being pushed there. I do believe that's true, right? I'm with you if you're anti-vax on that you're not being told everything, that there is a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of lies, that it is more, it's not as safe, it's not perfectly safe, but it's a calculated risk in my mind. That's where it comes down to. If I'm going to decide whether I'm going to be vaccinated against some of these deadly diseases or not, I'm going to roll the dice. Even if there is a chance of me being disabled or of it killing me, I'd rather take that chance, because the odds are much greater that you'll survive if you're vaccinated than the odds of you being having a side effect that's going to kill you. I think a lot of people don't understand what vaccinations are and how they work, right? Basically, the way that a vaccination works is that your body has the ability to create basically memory cells whenever you have an infection. You have a virus or a bacteria, like a disease, an infection, and it can very quickly create a defense against that particular, let's say, bacteria, right? Because it's already encountered it before. Our bodies, build up an immune system so they can fight off invaders that they've already seen before. The way that a vaccine works, it's just real simple. All it does is it puts in either a dead version of that disease, okay, into our body, so that it tricks our body into creating these memory cells so that it's ready for when it sees the real one, so that it doesn't have that ramp up time of like a couple of days, okay, so that we can immediately destroy a disease like measles that we're exposed to before it can build up enough that our body has to fight it, and it becomes this whole battle where it can become dangerous. If you understand that that's the basic idea, does that basic idea make sense? Now, are there other shit that they're putting in the vaccine that could be harmful and dangerous to your body? Yes, that's possible. But, what I find is funny, what I find is really interesting, is that the same people that will be against vaccines because of the possible contamination from, whatever they put in the vaccine and worried about the side effects, will be the same people that will do all kinds of harmful shit to their body, and they don't have a problem with that. They'll eat, fucking fast food that's loaded with all kinds of horrible, things, processed meats, right? Again, I'm not saying that I never eat fast food and that I never eat bad shit, but they'll do all these other things. Maybe they're smoking cigarettes, they're overweight, heart disease is a number one killer of of adults, right, today, right, and that comes from obesity. They'll do all these other unhealthy practices and not focus on those, but they'll focus on this whole vaccine thing, and it's really just a very small part of the dangers you're being exposed to in life, right? Every time you get on an airplane, you're taking a fucking risk. Every time you get an X-ray, you're being exposed to radiation. Every time you cross the street, you're taking a risk. Every time you get behind the wheel of a car, you're taking a big risk. So you'll take all these other risks in life, but all of these are calculated risks. The reason why you get on an airplane is because you know that the odds of you dying in an airplane crash are so small that it's worth it to cut down the travel time it would take you to drive there or walk there. The reason why you get in a car is the same reason, right? The statistics of you dying in a car are much, much higher than you dying from a vaccine. Yet you put your kids in the car every day and drive them around to daycare where they're much more likely to die than they are if they were to get a vaccine. So it doesn't make sense to me when you take certain risks that are calculated risks and other risks that have a lower odds of having death or having a serious side effect, but you won't take those ones. It becomes a political thing. I'm going to look at the facts. I'm going to look at the information. I'm going to make a decision for myself and decide, right? Everything in life is a calculated risk, right? You got to take all this information. 100% of it can't all be true, because you're getting information from different sources. If you talk to vegans, they will tell you that a vegan lifestyle is the healthiest. If you talk to, carnivores or, the people doing the carnivore diet, they'll tell you how vegans are killing themselves and dying. What is true? It's very hard to determine those things. You can't just say one group of people is an idiot because both people think that the other group is an idiot. So you've got to be the person who rises above that. Still has to make a decision what you're going to do in your life when you need to make that decision. But it's important for you to realize that anytime you're getting sucked into one of these very polarizing type of decisions where you hate the other group because they're idiots, probably you're the idiot. All right, that's all I got for you today. If you're anti-vax, tell me why. What is your real evidence for it? If you're pro-vax, tell me why. Let's see if we can have a reasonable discussion about this. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.